This episode of the Boat Geeks is sponsored by The Boater's Guide, a free app for Pacific Northwest boaters. The Boater's Guide is adventure and information, right at your fingertips, right when you need it. Find your happy place with The Boater's Guide, a free download on your phone or tablet in the App Store and Google Play. From the Port of Bremerton, and recorded at the Northwest Marina and Boatyard Conference, it's the Boat Geeks with Darren and Daeron.
We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. We're the Boat Geeks, it's the boat that floats that we love the most. Yes, we love the boat.
Welcome to another episode of the Boat Geeks. I'm your host, Darren.
And I'm your other host, Darren. And we're at the Marina and Boatyard Conference in Bremerton, hosted by the Northwest Marine Trade Association. And our guest right now is the chair of the King County Council, Dave Upthegrove. And Dave, you're also vying for something right now. What is that you're doing?
I am a candidate to be the next Washington State Commissioner of Public Lands, a statewide elected position.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the Boat Geeks.
Yeah, I think you're our first politician.
Yeah.
Which is pretty exciting.
Which is cool.
I'm pretty excited because there's two things I like, boats and geeks. So
Yes. There you go. Well,
You're right at home.
We're in the same boat, I should say.
Yeah, so, most of our guests are boat geeks in some capacity. Do you have an affinity for boats or boating?
Boating has been a big part of my life since childhood.
Excellent.
I was very fortunate to grow up on the shore of Lake Burien, where I would fish off the dock or in our dinghy.
Yeah.
Or I learned to windsurf there.
Nice.
And so if you count canoes and dinghies and sunfish sailboats.
Those are boats.
We do.
And then I spent all my summers in high school and college working for the Boy Scouts out at a summer camp out on Hood Canal.
Oh, right.
Swimming and boating and hiking and shooting and climbing and teaching kids about environmental science and the waterfront there, kind of where the mountains meet the sea.
Yeah.
And now that I'm older and married, we found a home on Puget Sound. I actually live at the Des Moines Marina.
Oh, yeah.
And I look out my window at the moorage
Oh, good for
yes.
slips there and see the boats coming and going and watching the CSR Marine Boatyard.
you. Yeah.
I could probably throw a rock from my porch, but I don't
Yeah.
do that. And, and so boating and the shorelines, it's just been a big part of my life.
Well, then you are an official boat geek as well, and welcome to the podcast.
So we were talking about it earlier. You're running for the Washington State Commissioner of Public Lands.
Yep.
And a lot of people will hear that title and assume, oh, yeah, that's forests and mountains
Landlocked
and
type
streams and all
stuff.
that stuff. But that position also oversees and includes water.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yes. You're probably ahead of most of my friends. They say you're running for commissioner of what? Most voters don't follow it at all, which is unfortunate because, as you mentioned, the commissioner of public lands in Washington State runs the State Department of Natural Resources. And we are one of only 3 states that elects this position. I don't know why.
Oh, wow.
But we do. And we're kind of a populous state out west, I guess. And the Department of Natural Resources oversees the management of our state-owned lands. And that includes, like you mentioned, a couple million acres of forest lands, 1 million acres of agricultural lands, but it also includes almost all of our state aquatic lands. So this state agency has an important role to play in terms of partnering with anyone who's using shorelines. We're not a regulatory agency. We're not the ones who make the rules. We're the landlord, if you think of it that way.
Yeah.
It's the state owns the land,
Right.
and we enter into leases with boatyards and marinas and other public and private uses.
And you have quite a history and track record in the world of conservation and preservation. And what are you taking from your experience forward into this, especially as it relates to our waters?
Yeah.
Yep. No, I think the voters in this state or the people of this state have strong conservation values. We're the evergreen state.
Yes.
And I want to carry those values into this role. And when it comes to our aquatic lands, that means striking a good balance. You know, we have a lot of economic opportunity. You see, I was looking at the numbers recently, and the marine trades, the folks who are having the conference today, In 2022, I think they provided 178,000 jobs. And those are really good paying jobs too. They aren't minimum wage jobs.
Right.
And so the challenge and the balance is how do we use these lands to support all that great economic activity, but also do it in a way that our kids and grandkids and their grandkids can enjoy it too, by keeping things clean. And we partner with marinas when we lease to them to help make sure that they can be successful, but also sometimes hold them accountable for making sure they're doing things right. And most of them are good operators.
Wow.
And we have other, I don't know if you would call them constituents, but marine mammals and the fish and the nudibranchs and everything in the waters that we ply and enjoy. We're also concerned about the health of that ecosystem.
Absolutely. The way I always describe it, if you want to have good jobs and a strong economy, you have to keep Washington a great place to live. And I don't want to be the generation that loses, like our iconic king salmon or the orca. And that's conceivable, like in our generation. So they've been here in perpetuity. And if we're the ones who don't steward things in a sound manner, we could lose that. The Department the Department of Natural Resources does some really cool stuff. They have a group of employees, and it's called the Aquatic Lands Restoration Team. And they partner with community groups doing hands-on stuff like helping get rid of the nasty creosote pilings, planting eelgrass, like the forage fish that the salmon rely on, helping get rid of, derelict fishing gear. And I'd really love to see us expand that work. And then another thing we do that's interesting, the Department of Natural Resources runs the derelict vessel program that helps, tries to help find a safe end resolution to abandon boats and vehicles, which is a real challenge.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge.
Really
and there was
expensive.
It's expensive, and they had a great discussion about that today. Obviously, a big topic and not easy to solve. Otherwise, it would already be solved, right?
Yeah.
And it makes sense for the state to play a role because if there is no ownership, it's going to end up falling on taxpayers in the end. At the end of the day. So it's better to invest up front and help get those taken care of, or it just gets worse and we're on the hook for not only more costs, but you end up, if any of these have fuel in them or polluting.
Preventative care and saves a lot of money. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I've heard plenty of horror stories and seen some of those.
We have seen plenty of them. Just, we're in Port Ludlow, and we've had a few issues out there in the bay, people almost abandoning boats, but we've been fortunate there not to have anything fully abandoned.
Yeah, we've seen some, there's been some cases much longer than what we've had in Ludlow, but that sounds amazing. So now if you are elected, and good luck with that, what are some of the things that you want to tackle right away? Like what's on your agenda?
Well, they say in politics to keep it simple. So I've given a lot of thought to, like, if there are three top things, and these are fairly general, but there are topical areas. I think my first priority is to protect our clean air, clean water, and habitat.
I love that. That's a win.
Okay. That's not that complicated. The other important responsibility the agency has that I want to prioritize, we're responsible for wildland firefighting. So I want to improve our prevention efforts. And there's a lot of ways we can do that to help reduce wildfires and improve response. And then the third area, and I think this is the old Boy Scout in me, I want to increase the recreational opportunities we have on our state lands and our aquatic lands. I think the way you create the next generation of conservationists isn't by preaching at people, it's by giving them the opportunity to get out on the water or
100%.
into the woods and hike. And that's how I fell in love with the outdoors, was by being out in it. And we're a big enough state that we can safely and environmentally friendly ways accommodate people's needs. So if I look back after 4 years in this job and we've managed to take care of our clean air, water, and habitat, we've done everything we can to address wildfires, and there's more people able to get out and enjoy the water and enjoy the lands, I'd consider that a success.
A win, win, win.
Win. We love those. We love the triple wins.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I moved up from California, and my wife and I and my family about 8 years ago, and we absolutely fell in love with Washington. I wish I was born here and lived here my whole life. But it's really discovering the beauty up here makes you passionate about it. And when you get out on the water, it makes you passionate about the water and taking care of our environment. And so that's a big part of our agenda, so to speak, also is to educate boaters, but also get new boaters out there appreciating what we have. Because sometimes, man, I'm out on the water and I just think I'm in heaven. There's nothing more beautiful than where we live. So
I've always wanted a boat, but then I realized the old saying is true. You don't want a boat, you want a friend with a boat.
100%.
And so I have a buddy who has a boat at the Des Moines Marina, and that's
there you go.
perfect.
There you go. Yeah.
Those are called OPBs.
Yes.
Other people's boats.
For sure.
They're the least expensive.
Oh, and the best.
Yeah, they're the best. That's great.
That's awesome. Well, we really appreciate your taking some time to sit down with us.
Thank you.
He told me a little bit about your history and what you've done, and that's amazing. The conservation obviously is hugely important. It's more obvious today than it's ever been.
Yep.
Is there anything you'd like to let our listeners know?
I'd just say my guiding principle, if I'm fortunate to be the next Commissioner of Public Lands, is going to be to manage the lands in the public interest for all the people of the state of Washington. Pretty simple principle.
That sounds like a no-brainer.
Our lands don't belong to industry. They don't belong to big business. They belong to we the people. They're public lands. They're our lands, whether forest lands or aquatic lands. And everyone ought to have the opportunity to get out and enjoy them.
Where can people find out more information on you? What's your website?
Upthegrove.org. And my last name is like 3 words in one, Up the Grove. And I do have to say that after 12 years in the state legislature, 3 terms on the King County Council, I am best known for one thing. I am the only elected official in the state of Washington with a prepositional phrase for a last name. If you remember your English classes. So Lord knows if I'm any good at this, but I have this cool last name, Upthegrove, so people keep voting for me, I think. So upthegrove.org is where you can find more.
There you go. It'll be in our show notes. It'll be on the screen.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're honored. And that has been another episode of the Boat Geeks podcast. And until next time, whatever floats your boat.
We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. We're the Boat Geeks, it's the boat that floats that we love the most. Yes, we love the boats. We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. Walk on the water, float on the sea, crossing the oceans between you and me. The wind in our hair, the salt on the breeze, bringing us closer, life on the